The number of days in February actually depends on the year. It depends on whether it's a leap year or not. So if it's a leap year, then the days in February are 29. And if it's not, then the days in February are 28. So it's a different day depending on a condition, and that is the year, or something specific about the year. So to be able to do one thing sometimes and another thing another time, we need some type of condition. So before we start coding that, let's review what conditional statements are available in JavaScript. So in JavaScript, we have the if and else and the else if. So we can use all of those. Another conditional statement that's available is the switch statement, and we won't be using that now, but know that if you have a need for the switch statement, you can find information about that in JavaScript. Now, these are not new to you. You're already have been in programming, so you already understand this concept of using conditional statements. And in JavaScript, these look very much like in other languages. So the way an if works is it has a condition in parentheses, and then inside curly braces is the block of code that will be executed when the condition is true. And so you can have a standalone if statement. When the condition is true, it will do this. When the condition is false, it will not do it, and then it'll move on. Now notice this is not looping. It only happens one time, right? It checks the condition once. If it's true, it does this code. If it's not true, it won't, and it'll move on with the program. Now, you might want to do something in the case that the condition is false, and to do that, you add an else statement. So and these go together. The if and the else need to be adjacent to each other, and each can have their own set of curly braces for the block of code. When the condition is true, this first block of code will be executed. When the condition is false, the second block of code will be executed. And that's the if-else statement. You can also use the else if statement to add a second condition. So here you have a first condition, and when that's true, that first block of code will be executed, and then it'll be done with the if-else statement. If it's false, it will move on to the next condition. In this case, you'll use else if and have a condition 2, and it will check if that one's true. If it's true, it will do the block of code associated with that condition, and then go to the end and continue with the program. If both of these conditions are false, it will go into the else, and else will catch everything. So once it gets here, it's identified that all previous conditions are false, and so it says, in that case, do this block of code. And you can have as many else ifs as are needed, so that supplies a variety of conditions. You can just have multiple conditions. Each one would need its own else if. And the way that it would move through this kind of statement is it would look at each condition individually from the top to the bottom. As soon as it finds a true condition, it will execute that code and be done, and move on with the rest of the program. So if you have multiple conditions that are true, it will only execute the first one, because it will never get to the next one. It will do one block of code only, and then it's done. And it'll be the first true condition. If all the conditions are false, it will do the block of code that is in that trailing else. And so that's how the if statements work in JavaScript.